Hello and welcome to BUB'S World. This is Bub, your host. Today we're going to be doing a quick review on a product that was sent to me by Crafti Comics. It's called the Flex Frame comic book frame. I've seen a couple others reviews on these frames, and I'll just say this, that I did not necessarily seek out to buy one. I saw those reviews and I thought looked okay. Maybe not for me. Maybe they are. Right now I've been using the magnetic one-touch frames put out by Ultra Pro. I've been using the Gator Guards put out by Gator Guards. Of course, I also use traditional slabs to display my comics, like CBCS and CGC. And then when all that fails, there's always top loader and a nice clear backing board. And a Mylar. That's always a nice sandwich makeshift frame. But one of the things that almost all of those lack is a proper way to hang it. Now the Ultra Pro frames, the one-touch frames, they do hang comics well, but they're also not that thick sometimes, so it's hard to get a thicker book in there, which is one of the reasons I was actually interested in the product, was because they claim to have a way to display thicker books as well. And also it's more of a, I hate to say museum type because it's really not that high level, but I would say it's probably a gallery type. So if you're going to do something of a gallery frame, so I'm going to do this real quick. Let's go ahead and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. So let's make me small real quick. So check this out. So if you look up at these frames here, these are traditional slabs on the little frame kits that they have, so that you can hang them on the wall, right? And that's all good and well. That works out fine, but really it's kind of a multi-part system, and you have to buy those separately. Those comic mounts, you have to buy them separately, and they're not very cheap. So, and I've always felt that they weren't, even though I've never had a problem, one's never fallen off the wall, I've always felt that maybe they weren't quite secure enough. So, so that's another reason that maybe somebody might go with a frame like this. Let's go ahead and show you off these frames. And full disclosure, I didn't pay for these frames. They sent them to me, but I also didn't ask them for them. So I think that puts me in a nice place to put a real honest review out there. If you guys follow my channel, anytime I do a product review, whether it's favorable or not, it's honest. It's 100% what I think. That's me giving to the community what I think it deserves, the comic community, that is. That you deserve an honest review, even if it's not in the best interest of the company. And every company has things that they can probably improve on, and I feel like in my background, being involved in a little bit of research and design and product development and things of that nature, that I feel like I owe it to everyone to bring that part of me forward and to give these reviews completely honest. So I hope you guys are ready for this one. All right, let's make me small and check out these frames. All right, now check that out. First off, that's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. So thank you so much to Crafti Comics for sending us these very, very beautiful looking frames. I'm just going to hold this up. I'm not going to talk too much about it just yet, but it's absolutely beautiful. As you can see, it's gorgeous. I put in Action Comics #1 reprint. I'll tell you why in a minute, but that's what I did. So first, let's talk about the instructions, putting them together. They come in parts. When they say Crafti, what do they call it? Crafti Comics, they mean it, because you really have to be a little bit crafty to get these things to put them together. And I am a normal person. If anything, I am more mechanically inclined and more capable of putting things together than most people, I think. Certainly whenever anyone needs me to do something, I can jump in and do it. And I found these to not be difficult, but I found the instructions to be very poor. So these instructions here, these are terrible. They're terrible instructions. I don't know how else to put it. But when you look at how nothing in this looks like this. So my suggestion first for the instructions would be to use actual product photos instead of these icon looking representations. That's pretty poor. You know, also we'll get to the hanging method in the back. That's almost completely useless in my opinion. But again, and I'll say it over and over again, it looks beautiful. So the instructions could be better. So after fumbling around and figuring it out what I need to do, they sent me the new, I guess, the flex frame that has the current size and then also the standard or classic size, I think they call it. So let's take a look at this. It looks great. The acrylic here, they sent me the wood and acrylic back for here so that you can have that nice two level look, which I think is very important to this. But a couple of things. One is that it is very, very tight. And when I say tight, I mean like if you have a book that has even a piece of it, actually gave this book a bindery tear. I didn't even know. It had a small little piece there, and when I put it in and tried to move it, it ripped a piece of the corner of the book. So that right there, the shell that they put in there, it's like a kind of an inner well, if you will. Like a CGC inner well would be. So it has like an outer frame, a thin outer frame. And when you deal with that, it is just way too tight. And the problem with that is that I think it could potentially damage a valuable book. So I would not put a 9/8 candidate in this frame. You're putting it right up against very harsh, sharp edged acrylic. And you're putting the edge of your book right up against it. That being said, I would actually say that that's an easy fix for flex frame. They just need to make a larger, border, give it a little bit of room, give the comic a little bit of room to breathe on this case. That was not the same problem with the classic case, this one. So the classic case has more room on the left and right. Now this is a Bronze Age book. We'll get to that in a minute too. So anyway, sticking with the current case, there is one huge problem with this. The reason, as I stated earlier, that I was even remotely interested in this product is that they claim to be able to have a method by which you can put a thicker book, meaning like an annual size or something over 32 pages, 64 pages, 100 page special, whatever. Well, if you guys know, this reprint of Action 1 is quite thick. So what they do, and I'll show you a couple of them, is that they give you spacers, okay? So these little spacers are what you're supposed to use in between those pieces of acrylic or wood or however you've got your frame set up. Well, the problem is that it only spaces around the posts of these screws and bolts. So what you end up with is a gap all the way around the frame. So look at this. That is completely open. Let me take this and show you. That's completely open to the book. 100% open to the book in between these spacers. That's terrible. I mean, that is not, you cannot display a book properly that's meant to be hung on the wall with a gap on the bottom, a gap all the way across. You can see the pages of the book all the way across, and especially on top. And the reason being is that the top is going to gain dust, debris. You're going to have, now they claim that I didn't do any testing. I didn't do any testing on the UV coat. But they claim that the acrylic, the front piece is UV coated. And that's fine. If that's true, I'll take them at their word. However, if you're getting a light source that's coming in through all four sides of the book, including the edge there, you see that? If you're getting a light source coming in from all those sides, then you're going to have uneven tanning and discoloration on the outer edges. And then the center of the book will stay relatively, clean, if you will. That's a huge problem. So I give that little spacer design for larger books a complete and utter fail. Now to go all the way back to the drawing board on that one, that's useless. Don't even use it. The only thing I would use it for is a reprint. And that's a problem. And that's kind of the overall theme of the whole review is I wouldn't put an expensive book in this. I wouldn't even come close to chancing it. Now, let's talk about something else that is these aluminum screws. So GatorGuard uses a similar design. They have now gone to including like a guitar pick in there so that you can close them. You really need that because if you take a regular screwdriver to this, it will damage the screw because it's just an aluminum screw and your screwdriver is probably steel or any hardened metal, and this is really soft. So you don't want to do that. You make it finger tight. You tighten it with anything other than a screwdriver. You should be fine. Something soft or plastic. So that needs to be addressed. They need to include a tool of some kind. We'll get to more on that in a minute. Let's look at the back. So that's the paper that they give you, these paper borders to choose from. Very nice, and give you lots of good colors too. I was actually pretty impressed with the color choices that they give you. So let's take a look at this here. This backing, look how tight that is to get a screw into and then back again, and it's sandwiched between another piece of acrylic. So, and if you didn't use that acrylic, which is funny because I saw other reviews didn't have this acrylic, so that may be something that they're adding to the packages that they didn't have before. But all the other reviews, people were just putting the paper right there and the book right against that paper. So that I would never do. That's a terrible idea. And where are you going to find a screw to fit in that hole and then slide up into it? And I hope I'm illustrating this enough, but there's no room for the head of the screw to go in between these two. So it's just going to push against that piece of acrylic and kind of jam up in there. And that's not, you don't want that anywhere near your book. And if you didn't have this piece of acrylic here, which the other reviews I watched didn't, then that meant that screw head was pressed against your book forcefully. That's terrible. Also, you're going to have to find something to squeeze just barely in there. Now, thankfully on this wood design, you could probably wedge or work. It'll shave a little bit of that wood off and it'll probably pop right in there. But as you'll see in a minute, this one, all acrylic design. There we go. Oh, that's something else. All acrylic design. There's no way you're going to get that to wedge in. So you'll have to have a very broad, flat, like I don't even think a screw would work. You would have to use like a flat-headed nail, completely flat, to then wedge through there. And it's still going to have to wedge through these two pieces of acrylic to stick. That's a pointless design. I almost want to issue a challenge to everyone who's reviewed one of these and actually hung them on the wall. Show us how easy it was to hang this on the wall. I can't imagine that actually went through well. That needs to be redesigned, completely redesigned. A nice flat, or include hardware. That's the other thing you can do. If this is the way you want to do it, that's fine. But you're going to have to give us the perfect flat nail or screw or whatever it's going to take to get that in there, because that is way too difficult. I looked through, I've got tons of screws and nails and I couldn't find anything that was flat enough to fit between those two pieces of acrylic without completely bowing it out, and yet was thin enough to slide through there. I couldn't find anything. About the closest I came to was like an upholstery tack, and that's not deep enough to go into a piece of drywall. So good luck with that. Also, no drywall anchors, no screws. They give you this nice little template, which is very good to use to make your template on the wall before you hang it. But again, you can see just how tight that is. And then once the screw comes through this end, you're going to have a head on this end, and that's going to be pressing either against another piece of acrylic, which is going to be almost impossible, or your book if you have one of the other designs. So just a total fail on that part too. So here's the problem that I have. Well, I have several problems. One, it really isn't practical to hang on the wall because they did not design the hanging mechanism well. Two, the well cases are way too tight and yet also too loose, because although that piece is too tight, look, once I put the spacers in, it was tight without the spacers. But with the spacers, if you can see this, the book drops. So now it's past the line of the well and touching the acrylic on top of the cover. You don't want that at all. So that's terrible. That's a terrible design. They just need to really go back to the drawing board. You can kind of see where that bindery tear occurred over here in this corner. It wasn't like that until after I tried to remove it from the case. So just a bad design on the spacers, just pretty much useless. The backing, hanging it is pretty much useless. So at that point, it's just a stand-up frame, and they don't, and they're very, like this is really tall. Like this isn't going to, your standard, I would assume CGC frame or anything like that or a stand for it. This is really heavy and top heavy too. It'll probably squash it. I wouldn't worry about that. And the other thing was that they claim on their website that this classic size is actually for gold, silver, and bronze size books. I wonder if anyone who actually deals in comics gave them any advice at all, because Golden Age books, which you guys know I collect a great deal of, another reason why I was excited about this product, because a lot of their competitors don't have Golden Age size options. The Golden Age size books are bigger most of the time than a Silver Age book. A Bronze Age book is usually just a hair smaller than a Silver Age book. So what they did was they picked a Silver Age size, and some of those vary even, but they picked like a Marvel Silver Age size and then made this size made the case that size. But it's still too tight, just like this one was, to fit a Silver Age book in, because you'll tear the edges. And I don't know if you guys collect any Silver Age or even some bronze on occasion, but Silver Age and Golden Age books often have spine rolls or miscuts, or it's not a perfect wrap. Okay, so when you're dealing with books that aren't perfect, there's no way they fit in this book. I went through 6 different Silver Age books from different titles, from different publishers, and could not find a single one to fit in this case. Not one. And finally, I settled on my most evenly spaced Bronze Age books. One of the reasons why I picked this book, is one of the reasons why I bought this book, is because I really enjoy, you know how hard it is to get Marvel centering in the Bronze Age. So one of the reasons that I had even bought this book was because I was impressed with the centering of it. And it still has a little bit over on the staple black and white, a little on the spine. And it fit. Barely. And they still need more room at the top and bottom, because that's way too close for comfort for me. That's not enough room. So if your book is absolutely perfect dimensions, then fine. But I think it would have behooved them more to look at the sizing that, say, a backing board gives you. So when you buy a Silver Age board, it's slightly wider than a Silver Age book, slightly taller than a Silver Age book. That should have been the size that they went with for the inner piece. They should not have just stuck with whatever the exact size of the book was. It doesn't give enough variance for all the types of books there are out there. And not only, and those aren't odd cases. I'm talking about the average Silver Age book is not going to fit in this. The average Golden Age book is not going to fit in this. Golden Age books, some of them were sized the same as silver. Some of them weren't. But the ones that weren't, not even close. And the ones that were, if they have any kind of spine roll or any imperfection or a miscut, not going to fit at all. So I really can't recommend these products really to anyone unless you're looking at just the frame and you think it's pretty. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. It's one of those frustrating products. Like right now, I hope it's not coming off as angry, because it's really just frustrated. Like, I really want this to be awesome because it looks so good. I just feel like they need to listen to someone who actually deals with comics, ask someone what sizes would be good, and then make a reasonable hanging, scenario. I mean, you cannot use this to hang that book. And I challenge anybody who's already reviewed one of these products to show us how you actually got the screw in there, how you hung it on the wall without pressing in between the pieces of acrylic or damaging the back of your book. I'd like to see that, because I couldn't find a way, nor could I find a good flat head screw or nail that fit in there well. So, like I said, I'm not angry about it. I'm just so disappointed because I really wanted these to be awesome, and they just really failed in some fundamental ways. The size of the book matters. The protection of the book matters. The idea that you can get air in and light on all sides of this book with a spacer is a total fail. So I feel like they're trying to advertise this as being everybody's new best friend, and it just fails on too many of those levels. The idea that it's good for thicker books is what I was excited about, was a bust, because those spacers are a terrible design. They don't protect the book at all. In fact, they could potentially damage the book. Then just to have a regular book like this, good luck finding one that fit in there. Definitely not Golden Age, which is what I was excited for, even though it claims it handles Golden Age. And even your Silver and Bronze Age books better be absolutely immaculately perfect. And if they are, you still can't hang it on the wall. So I'm struggling with these. I think they're beautiful. I'm probably going to keep this reprint in there because I think it looks great. And I'll probably hang it on the wall by hell or high water. I'll find some way to stick it to the wall. But it comes down to it. It just doesn't deliver on near any of the promises that it makes, other than it's attractive. And it is attractive. And I like the customizable papers that they chose. I think the colors they chose were very good colors. Very comic, related. So there are things to like about it. And really, I feel like these are all minor design things that just end up in major fails. But if they can fix all those things, I don't see why this product wouldn't be the absolute best way to display your raw comics. If they can fix those things, then I think I think it catapults it to the top. It really does. So I hope you guys are listening. I hope you appreciate an honest review. And I hope that you take into account some of these failures and attempt to remedy them before winging these out there. Because at the price, and I don't even talk about that because that's always fluctuating. Sometimes I'll do a review on a product and someone will say, you said it was this much and it's this much now. It's 2 years later. Prices change. So if you're watching this in the future, I didn't like to talk about price that much. But honestly, for the price of these frames, you could slab a book. So it's hard to wrestle that because this doesn't really add any value to the book, nor does it. No, and if you sold the book, you probably wouldn't sell it in this frame. So you're taking, the same cost that it would cost to get it professionally graded and encapsulated, and you're replacing it with this frame. The cost is just too much. I think, and some of their competitors are half the price of this frame. And I think at that point, you need to reconcile some of that. First of all, if you're going to be double the price of your competitors, you need to be presenting a product that does everything you say it will do. And this product doesn't do hardly anything you say it will do. Like, I don't know how this gets past testing. Like, I want to see them hung on a wall. I want to see someone hang one on a wall. I want to see them put a screw in the back, slide it in easily, and not bend the acrylic. I've yet to see that in any video I've seen. So that's a challenge to anyone who's previously reviewed this or anyone who reviews it in the future. Show us that you can hang this on the wall and I'll eat my hat. So, all right. So that's it. I hope y'all appreciated that. This is Bub at Bub's World signing off. I know, it's always touchy when you do reviews of products and they're not 100% glowing. I really wanted to like this product. It is beautiful. I really love the way it works. It just doesn't work the way it says it will. So that's it. All right. We'll catch you next time on Bub's World. Remember to read a comic and don't apologize for the glare. Bye-bye.